Let's pretend for a second I'm young, hip, trendy, and I'm in the market for a new set of wheels that will turn heads around town. What am I going to buy? Should it be a Lamborghini? That's probably too expensive. What about a Citroen? Am I really that quirky though? Well, let me introduce you to the Cupra Formenter. The what? Cupra is Australia's newest car brand, or at least it will be when it launches in July, and the Formenter is its take on the coupe-like small SUV. Think BMW X2, but a little bit smaller and arguably better looking and way more affordable. For those of you that don't know, Cupra used to be SEAT's performance division and comes from Spain, and it sits under the Volkswagen Group umbrella alongside Skoda, Audi, and of course, Volkswagen. But all this begs the question, is the Cupra Formenter any good? And should you spend your hard-earned cash on one? Well, I've come all the way around the world to not so sunny Ireland to find out. But before we begin, if you're short on time, we've actually split this video up into handy little chapters. So you can use the time codes found on your screen now to jump ahead to the section that interests you the most. And if you're watching on YouTube, life gets even easier because you can just use the timeline down below to scrub ahead. We've also thrown a link to the full written review with all the details that you'll need in the description down below. And while you're down there, why not give us a like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon to stay on top of all our latest content. So this is the tricky part, because Australian pricing and specs for the Cupra Formenter have actually not yet been finalised. What I do know though is that the Cupra Formenter will be available in 4 different flavours when it lands in Australia, each powered by a petrol engine. If I had to guess, a sporty and stylish European SUV like this will probably start at around $45,000. Here in Ireland, it starts at about 40,000 euros. And this test car comes fitted with a few optional extras that we're probably going to see in Australia as well. So here's the breakdown.
Standard features include 18-inch two-tone wheels, sports front seats, LED headlights, 3-zone climate control, heated front seats, heated steering wheel, automatic high beams, and an all-digital instrument cluster. Keep in mind though, it is likely that not all these items will make it to Australia. The heated steering wheel, for example, is a real selling point in a country like Ireland where temperatures will regularly dip below zero, but is really unnecessary in Sydney's climate. In my time with the car, the best features were no doubt the heated seats and tri-zone climate control, which let me and my whole family stay comfortable and toasty warm over a chilly Christmas. Handling multimedia duties is a massive 12-inch touchscreen, which also incorporates the air conditioning controls as well as satellite navigation, driver profile select, digital radio, and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity.
It's a nice and comprehensive list of standard equipment, at least here in Ireland, but this car actually comes fitted with about 6,500 euros of optional extras.
On the options list of this car, you'll find premium paint, black leather for the seats, 19-inch black and copper wheels, a powered tailgate, Cupra's dynamic chassis control, and a side exit warning system.
Of all these extras though, I'd probably say the power tailgate is the only one that's really essential. And it actually lets you pop the boot from your keys, so you can just throw your groceries in and go. Some of you might think SUVs are daggy and uncool, but the Cupra Formenter puts a strong argument forward that they can also be stylish and attention-grabbing. It probably helps that the Cupra Formenter is the brand's first standalone model, which means it's not based on an existing SEAT. Just look at it, it's all sharp edges and angles. It's really like no other SUV available in Australia. In fact, so striking is the Formenter that a complete stranger actually wandered into my driveway here in Ireland and remarked at its appearance. One of the first things that you'll probably notice about the Cupra Formentor's front end is this striking badge, which sits a copper-coloured emblem on a faux carbon fibre background. It actually reminds me of one of those badges that you might see on a Transformer, and the overall aggressive styling means that this Cupra Formenter is probably going to be one of those cool Decepticons and not a boring Autobot. The front end is also informed by these razor-sharp headlights and these weirdly positioned fog lights, which leaves room for these front bumper cutouts to feed air into the front wheels. In profile, the Cupra Formentor's SUV shape is evident, but there are some interesting flourishes. For starters, the sloping roofline combines with these prominent hips to really shrink down the rear quarter and gives a more athletic and sporty appearance. These copper-coloured 19-inch wheels also tie in really well with the badge, and the wheel arch cladding and side skirts are painted in this nice grey colour. No cheapy black plastic here. From the rear, the Formenter keeps up with the latest automotive trend of having connected taillights, while this roof-mounted rear spoiler adds to its sporty flair. One downside though, is that these dual exhaust outlets they're actually fake, and you'll have to spend a bit of extra money on a higher grade to get genuine exhaust outlets. But overall, the Formenter really has an imposing presence on the road. Technology is the name of the game inside, and the youthful appeal of the Formenter is accentuated by this huge multimedia screen. Seriously, it's bigger than an iPad, and it features touch, pinch to zoom, and gesture controls as well. The digital instrument cluster and interior ambient lighting are also both customizable, which should appeal to those with a light-up gaming keyboard. Guilty. There are also copper accents on the steering wheel, air vent surrounds, and dashboard, which tie really nicely into the badging. Yes, I'll be the first to admit that the Cupra Formentor's looks aren't for everyone, but I'm certainly a big fan. I think it strikes the right balance of being sporty and aggressive, and even, dare I say it, premium. If attention is what you want, the Cupra Formenter should absolutely be on your shopping list. The Cupra Formenter is classed as a small SUV, so don't expect to fit a full family of 5 in here, but there are some clever storage solutions. From the driver's seat, there's plenty of head, shoulder, and leg room, and the electronically adjustable seats have a memory function, which means you and a partner can save your desired position. Storage solutions also include generous door pockets that will accommodate a large bottle. You've got 2 cup holders here that will take a large McDonald's drink. Trust me, I've tried. There's a wireless smartphone charging tray up front, as well as these 2 storage trays here for your wallet and keys. The tech-focused interior is really on show up here. You'll see 2 USB Type-C ports down below for charging, while media volume and cabin temperature is controlled by this touch-sensitive bar, which you can tap or slide. Maybe I'm a bit too old school, but I actually prefer physical buttons for the volume and climate controls, because it gets a bit tricky to adjust things while you're on the move. The satellite navigation can also be a bit slow, especially on startup, which means you're gonna have to wait a few agonizing seconds to put in your destination before you get going. Back here, there's actually a surprising amount of room for a coupe SUV. There's plenty of head, shoulder, and leg room for my 6 foot tall and gangly frame. The middle seat is a little bit tight though, and is pretty much only usable for children, but when it's unoccupied, there's a fold down center armrest with cup holders. Storage solutions back here include bottle compatible door pockets, back seat pockets for your tablets, as well as air vents and extra USB Type-C ports for charging.
Looking at the spec sheet, the Formenter measures 4,446mm long, 1,839mm wide, 1,520mm tall, and sports a 2,679mm wheelbase, making it a bit bigger but also lower than rivals like the Toyota CHR and Hyundai Kona. That explains the generous interior space then, but it also means the Formenter can swallow a sizable 420 litres in the rear, making it more practical than some of its rivals. The rear seats can also fold down to accommodate longer objects. The Cupra Formenter has not been tested by ANCAP, but Euro NCAP has awarded it a full 5-star rating from its testing in 2021. Of note, the Formenter scored well in the adult and child occupant protection tests, thanks largely to its array of safety systems. With Australian specifications still up in the air, our local Formenters may differ from this one, but as reference, the Cupra small SUV is fitted with tyre pressure monitoring, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, driver fatigue monitor, traffic sign recognition, automatic high beams, a reversing camera, front and rear parking sensors, and autonomous emergency braking as standard. My test car was also fitted with blind spot monitoring and a handy exit warning feature, which lets you know of any potential dangers upon egress.
Powering this Cupra Formenter is a 1.5 litre turbo petrol 4-cylinder engine. The same one you'll find under the bonnet of a Skoda Kamiq and Volkswagen T-Roc. Like its Volkswagen Group cousins, this engine makes 110 kilowatts and 250 newton meters. But if that sounds a bit underwhelming given the Cupra's aggressive looks, I've got a bit of good news for you. Because the Cupra Formenter isn't actually launching in Australia with this engine. It's going to get a trio of potent 2-litre turbo petrol engines, as well as a flagship plug-in hybrid powertrain.
In Australia, the entry-level engine will be tuned to 140 kilowatts and 320 newton meters, while the next version up will punch out 180 kilowatts and 370 newton meters to match that of the Golf GTI and Skoda Octavia RS. The sportiest version of the Formenter will be equipped with a mighty 228 kilowatt, 400 newton meter engine that should be enough to frighten hot hatches like the Hyundai i30N and Ford Focus ST. And for those that want a more frugal powertrain, there is a plug-in hybrid that combines a 1.4 litre turbo petrol engine with an electric motor for a combined output of 180 kilowatts. Drive will be sent to either the front or all four wheels via dual clutch automatic transmission. 7 speeds for the 2 litre petrol models and a 6-speed unit for the plug-in.
Official fuel consumption figures for this car are pegged at 6.7 litres per 100 kilometres, but in my time with the car I managed an average of 7.9 litres per 100 kilometres, largely thanks to a healthy mix of inner city, freeway and country driving.
Keep in mind though, the car was often blasting heat into the cabin and fully loaded with luggage, passengers and baby gear, increasing the consumption figure. I'll also point out that this engine won't actually make it to Australia, meaning local cars will have higher fuel consumption averages due to more potent 2-litre turbo petrol engines. All versions of the Australian Formenter, that is, barring the flagship plug-in hybrid version, which should sip about 1.5 litres per 100 kilometres thanks to a battery pack that enables around 55 kilometres of tailpipe emissions-free driving. All Cupras sold in Australia will come with a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which matches the assurance period offered by most top 10 brands like Toyota, Mazda and Hyundai. Scheduled servicing intervals are yet to be confirmed, but will likely match that of existing Volkswagen and Skoda models that share the same powertrains, meaning every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres. Pricing for servicing is also yet to be revealed, but Cupra could offer 3- and 5-year service plans like sister brands Volkswagen and Skoda that allows customers to save a bit of money when paying up front. Don't expect to be servicing your car at a specific Cupra dealership either, as all models will be sold online and maintenance will be carried out at Volkswagen, Skoda or even Audi centres.
It's no big surprise that a performance brand like Cupra can deliver on a sporty SUV like this Formenter. From the driver's seat, all the controls just fall easily in hand and the steering is well weighted and offers plenty of feedback. This particular car also comes with a drive mode selector that sharpens up engine and transmission response, but never to a point where it's too much for driving around town. One particular criticism I could level at this car is that it does feel a bit underpowered, especially on an Irish freeway with a speed limit of 120 kilometers an hour. The good news though is that you'll probably never get to drive this 110 kilowatt version because Australia's Formenter range will kick off with a 2-litre turbo petrol with a bit more punch. I'm particularly excited for the full-fat 228 kilowatt car, which should give proper hot hatch rivals a run for their money. Either way, this dual-clutch automatic transmission is one of the best I've sampled and doesn't suffer from that low-speed jitteriness that plagues some models. You can also put it into sport mode, which holds gears a little bit longer to help with some uphill climbs. Or you can even shift yourself with these steering wheel mounted paddles. Overall, I'm glad to report that the Cupra Formenter is a pretty tidy package overall, and out on the road it feels much more like a sporty hatchback than a high-riding wallowy SUV. The Formenter is a stylish small SUV, much in the same vein as the Hyundai Kona or Toyota CHR. But whereas you'll see those two models parked on nearly every street corner, the Cupra is going to remain a rarity, at least at first. Backing up its attention-grabbing aesthetics is a ready, willing and eager chassis, and when this car lands in Australia with more powerful petrol engines, it's going to be an absolute hoot to drive. I'll concede, the tech-heavy interior might not be for everyone, but if you're straddling the line between Millennial and Gen Z, you'll feel right at home behind the wheel of the Cupra Formenter. For the breakdown on how we got to that score, check out the full written review at carsguide.com.au. And if you don't think this car is right for you, we reviewed hundreds of others for you to check out.